Okay, friends, we all want our kids to have a fabulous summer, but we need to do it without going insane. If you're new here, my name is Dee. This is my channel. I'm going to give you some tips today for having a great summer break and not losing your marbles. My first tip is get outside. I'm going to try to go through these relatively quickly and not too rambly, but I think that getting outside, not just for your kids, but also for mom, is a crucial part of having a good summer. If only the kids are outside and you don't get to see the plants growing, you don't get to water your garden and check on things and whatever, then that's not fun and that's not fair. And the added bonus is that when you get outside, especially first thing in the morning, your eyes get that good sunlight in them and you wake up more fully and you're happier, and you also know what's going on in your garden and you know what needs to be done, and you can eat the chive flowers like I'm doing right here. And then also your kids follow you out. They come out too. They're excited. They're invested in what's going on in your garden or what walk you're taking today. And that's just a big, huge tip for summer fun and not going insane. And so my second tip for you today is to keep some of your structure. I'm a homeschool mom, and we always start the day with a little morning offering and some morning basket time that involves some read alouds. And I don't do that every day in the summer, but I try to at least have us do something. And my next tip for trying to be productive and not go insane is small chunks. I am still picking away at this homeschool shelf, trying to get it cleaned up. I'm trying to clean out my dresser. I'm trying to clean out my bathroom. And I will lose my mind if I don't do it in small chunks. You need to be okay with getting one shelf done. You need to be okay with little bites and be like, okay, this is one of my goals. My top 3 goals for today, for example, are one load of laundry, clean one shelf, and take the kids to the beach. That can be a perfectly good top 3 goals for the day for you, and you can check those off and be like, wow, I did so well. Everything else now that I get done on top of this is gravy, okay? So small, attainable goals for you for productivity as a homemaker is something that's really important for staying sane in the summer. This next one that I'm going to share with you, it might be oversaid, but quiet time. It is 100% okay to schedule quiet time, even if you just have big kids. You don't have to do it every day, but they need to know the drill, like you must go chill out for half an hour in your room, no fighting, and then we'll do this fun thing afterwards. Just get them in the routine now. You will be so grateful. I mean, especially when they're all sunburned and like they just really need a quiet day. Am I the only one who's still sunburned sometimes? Okay. My next tip probably applies a little bit more to large families, but break up the crowd. Everybody sometimes just needs a break from being all together. I like to take opportunities like little errands, like going to pick up our farm fresh eggs, to take 1 or 2 kids with me, and then you're just able to just take it down a notch at the house. The kids who come in the car, we can listen to a song or a podcast episode, and maybe the baby can get a nap, and it just like works out really well. And for whatever reason, it's like a one-on-one time or smaller group time, and they feel excited about that, even when it's just a little errand, especially for younger kids or kids who are really motivated by having some kind of job. That works really, really, really well. My next tip, so I believe we're on tip number 6 now, is decide your daily non-negotiables and try to get them done like 80 to 90% of the time. So what do I mean when I talk about daily non-negotiables? For me as a homemaker, That is, the dishes need to be done. Obviously, kids need to be fed, so we cook mostly from scratch. Dishes need to be done, floor swept, I do a load of laundry, counters relatively clear, and that's just sort of the basic for me to feel sane. If you let go of daily non-negotiables, like half of the time in the summer, then you will not be as chill. Or at least I personally cannot be as chill, because all of these things just start to pile up. And that's not fair to me as a homemaker, and it's not fair to my family, who would then feel the stress of me starting to be stressed out. So sometimes you just need to put your cranky baby in the carrier and handle the dishes, no matter whether you actually have the energy or not. But there's going to be other times in the summer where you're like, you know what? We have been so busy. I am so exhausted. It's so hot. We're just going to sit down. We're going to chill out. We're going to use paper plates, and I'm going to let things slide. And that's okay, because that's your 20%. And that's when you just chill out, and after you sleep, after you're not sunburned anymore, then you're going to catch up, and it's going to be okay. I'm not going to call it a pet peeve, because the word pet peeve is a pet peeve of mine, but I think that there's this thing on the internet that somehow makes moms feel like we need to make summer magical for our children. Like the summers that we had as kids that felt magical to us. Stop that. Just stop it right now. If you are feeling some kind of extraordinary pressure to make things magical for your kids, you just take a breather for a minute, because childhood is magical, and whether or not you try to make their summer magical, it is going to be magical. That is just the way that childhood works, and it's fantastic, and it is such a blessing. But we don't actually have to craft or create some kind of false, pretentious, magical childhood summer for our children. They do that all on their own. I mean, the other day, I went outside and my kids were making basically the equivalent of little fairy houses in the dirt with no prompting of mine. And they were just all creating these little multi-level village things out of dirt and sticks and rocks. And it absolutely looked so magical. I can't even describe how magical it looked. And they were doing that for hours. And now it's one of the things that they just continually go do in the yard with no extra supplies. And it's been amazing. I couldn't have come up with something that cool. They did it because they are kids and they are fantastic. And so I think you just need to have a little bit less pressure on yourself. What kids really need in the summer is just the time and space and freedom to create those magical things on their own, and then they will have a magical summer. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get bubbles and sparklers and have some activities up your sleeve. You absolutely can do that. But you don't have to. It's not going to make or break your children's summer, because there's stars to look at, and there's lakes to swim in, and they can make bubbles out of dish soap, and it's going to be just totally fine. My next tip pertains to cooking from scratch. So if that's not a value that you hold as a homemaker and a mother, then that's totally okay. And also, you still might want to listen to what I have to say on this matter, because I think a lot of the time people find that their kids' behavior goes south around the summer. And I think it's really important to look at diet and nutrition for that. In the summertime, a lot of the time we are eating more fruit, which is great and delicious. I love that there's fruit in abundance. Even salads, amazing, love it. And then we're grabbing easier, faster snack foods because we're out a lot. We're also feeding them things like popsicles and freezies. And some of the ingredients in those foods can actually really negatively affect children's behavior. I know because I have 5 children and I have seen it happen. And I have a very wise friend who also agrees that these certain ingredients, like artificial food coloring, can really trigger some bad behavior and make it a lot harder for kids to control themselves and just not be grumpy. And if you have all your kids home from school, you want to have fun. You don't want them to be grumpy. Sometimes it's worth a little bit of extra effort and a little bit of extra planning to have things on hand that are fun treats and easy to grab, good snack foods that are not going to make your kids super grouchy and not going to also affect you in a negative way. So check those ingredients on the things that you're buying at the grocery store. Most grocery stores have organic fruit juice type of freezies, healthier popsicles that don't have tons of glucose, fructose, and food coloring in them. I find that I can find that even now at smaller shops. You just have to look carefully, and if your store doesn't have it, maybe a bigger store further away does, or maybe you can order some online and just be stocked up for summer so that you do have freezies when all of the kids at soccer are getting a freezie. You've got a freezie for your kids, and it's not going to make them grumpy for 3 days. Anyway, that's just something to think about. But there's also tons of really, really fun foods that you can have on hand that are still made from scratch. They're cheaper because you're making them at home. They're way healthier, and you can control what's in them, how much sugar, and things like that. With a few simple swaps, it can be really easy to do those things. So my next tip, which I believe that we are on tip number 8 now, is that you can still get your work done. Now, I am the queen of not doing this, but I am working very hard this summer to keep my scheduled work time as my scheduled work time and respect that boundary and not let all the fun summer things invade it. So one way that I'm doing that right now is that I'm just doing a switch with my friend so that we can each get our work done during the week and our kids can play with their friends. I'm not sure if you guys have grandparents around who can help you out with your kids for a few hours, and so you can still get the work that you need to do done, whatever that might look like. But if that's possible for you, I would highly encourage you to do it, because if you start to get overwhelmed, overstimulated, behind on all of your things, your kids don't understand that, and they don't necessarily know what you need to do, and they can't respect your work boundaries for you. So I'm teaching myself this right now. I am not preaching to the choir, I am preaching to myself. But anyway, I hope that helps anybody who does work from home and needs to also be productive this summer. Have a plan, have a schedule, try to stick to it. And even a wise friend gave me this tip last week. Even make sure that you have planned out what you're going to eat on your days that you're working so that you're still being fed and you're still being nourished and getting enough protein. Grab a meat stick. If you are in a blood sugar crash, you just eat a pepperoni stick, everything's going to be fine. My next tip pertains more to those beach days, those hot days, or when you're really busy and doing lots of sports, and it is electrolytes. Okay, I know that you can grab Gatorade at the store, but again, that can get expensive. especially the way kids drink it. And most of the Gatorade has food coloring in it. So I'll just tell you this quick little tip. You can make your own electrolytes at home. You can obviously buy electrolyte powders, which work great. I have one with collagen in it too. Another thing that you can do is grab your high quality salt, so not table salt, but like a high quality salt, a bottle of trace minerals, and some maple syrup or honey, or you can brew an iced tea. So I really like to do like a nettle raspberry leaf infusion. There's actually a recipe that I have for a tea that's super beneficial for pregnancy, called Nora tea, because it's got nettle, oat straw, raspberry leaf, and alfalfa in it. So a lot of the time I make that even when I'm not pregnant because it's delicious. Put some lemons in it, put some lime or whatever you have on hand, and some trace mineral drops, a little bit of salt, a little bit of honey or maple syrup, and you have yourself a really easy, homemade, and affordable electrolyte drink. So eat that protein, drink your electrolytes. Everybody's going to be feeling amazing. So my tip number 10 for a really happy, beautiful summer with your kids, keeping your sanity intact, loving on your family, and just enjoying your summer is gratitude. I think in order to cultivate gratitude in our hearts, we really need to just slow the heck down. We need to cultivate a spirit of observing things. Like this footage right here, this is a local eagle nest. It is so cool. I am so happy to just spend summer like walking to this eagle nest and looking at it with binoculars and just enjoying that with my kids and finding eagle feathers. Like, I can still see it on my camera. We just need to cultivate so much gratitude and so much just observing the beauty around us. And you guys are just going to have an amazing summer. Thank you so much for watching my video. Of course, I have all of these tips in a handy blog post on kindlingwild.com.